Sorry about that. Is that better, Sherry? No sound. What in the world is going on with my sound? I do not know. I do not know. Hopefully that fixed it. So I will start again and say, welcome to Tabs on Tap. I am Tabitha Hassell. My sound is on. I don't know why. Sometimes it's on and sometimes it's not on. I start the show every day and everything is exactly the same. So I don't know. Let me know if that's better. I'll just turn myself up a little bit. Good morning, Paula. Good morning, Sherry. Good morning, Georgia. And again, welcome to Tabs on Tap. I don't I don't know what's going on with my sound. It's kind of funny how I went through numerous shows with no sound. Good morning, Marla. I went through all this time with no sound issues, and now all of a sudden, it's very sporadic. Sometimes I have sound, and sometimes I don't, and I really don't know. Sherry says sometimes Bluetooth picks up. I'm not connected by Bluetooth. I'm connected wirelessly, but I use a Rodecaster Go 2, and it does connect right into the system. So I your guess is as good as mine. Good morning, Mary Jo Williams. I know we have so much to talk about today, and I know on Mary Jo's mind is, of course, Israel. And of course, Mary Jo, I know you have family in Israel. We're going to be talking about that today. We're going to be praying for everyone involved, praying for peace, as Mary Jo says. Good morning, Genevieve. And we're going to get into that. There's so many things I want to talk about. Joe Adams is going to be joining us at 8 a.m. Hopefully, I can figure out my technology well enough for him to join us. At this point, I'm not so sure, and I don't have a whole lot of confidence in myself. But we will figure it out. When I test it on my own, it works fine. But sometimes when you go hit that live button, everything changes. Good morning, Karen and Jay. So happy to have all of you here. What you didn't hear me say earlier when I first started, when I had no sound, is that I was wondering what day it is. I think it's Wednesday. And that is how my week is going. I think it's Wednesday. I worked really late into the night last night. I didn't get home till almost midnight. So definitely a rough start to my morning, but I'm on time. So hopefully that counts for something. And beautiful day out. Like I was saying, when you guys could not hear me, yesterday, when we had a heat index of 103, today, I think the high is going to be 78. St. Louis weather, typical cold front come through. At least I didn't want any rain. Thankfully, we didn't have any. Sherry said she had to check her calendar too. I know. It's like, what in the world is going on? The time goes by so fast. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't even have a spare minute to my day, not even one. I wake up around 4 a.m. to put everything together for the show. It's a lot of work to put the show together, quite honestly. Even though it's just me and I know what I'm talking about, there's still a lot to it to load videos and load all these different things and get everything set up. And I didn't go to sleep till almost 1 a.m. So I'm tired. I'm hoping I'm going to have a nice nap today. Good morning, Dottie. Thank you all so much for joining me. One thing I did notice last night when I arrived home from work, I checked my email and my drive was about an hour and a half. So by the time I get home, I checked my email and I received notifications from USGS about different, notifications for earthquakes. Earthquakes are always on my mind, particularly ones that hit. We just had one that hit O'Fallon, Illinois, not too far from, where we some of us live. And so I've been kind of keeping up with those. And I thought my email was broke because I had probably 100 emails from USGS talking about earthquake, earthquake, earthquake. And I'm like, what in the world is wrong? Surely this is a summary of all of the USGS emails I've received over the past month. And then I looked again and I'm like, no, that's right. And I'm like, what is going on? There's like an earthquake swarm taking place in California. And I looked into it a little bit further. And then I found just a few moments before there had been an earthquake. I don't know if they've determined yet. I didn't look it up this morning. I believe as of last night, it was a 5.3 right around Bakersfield, California. And directly after that 5.3 earthquake, now USGS says it's 5.1. I saw it reported in the news that it's 5.3. But what was really crazy, is that all of the aftershocks, as a matter of fact, if I pull up my email now, they are still having aftershocks. There's probably been well over 100 aftershocks, all right around the 2.0, 2.4 range. But it really makes you wonder, is there something bigger coming? I'm sure that's on the mind of everyone in California, is there something bigger coming? And we hear right along the line of the New Madrid fault line, we I'm sure always think about earthquakes because we know that in our area they have been preparing for quite some time for the big one to hit, and it would be catastrophic if you're in probably in the listening area of and you're listening to my show. You're probably in the area of potentially receiving some very severe damage if we ever have the big earthquake right there along the New Madrid fault line. And thank God my son moved. He lived right on top of the New Madrid fault line in Charleston, Missouri for a time, right on top of it. And I was worried all of the time. But more than anything, something I want to talk about, Linda says, my friend in California commented about rocking and rolling last night. Yes, I read some comments from some people in that area of California, as far down as Long Beach and further out, who said it was just a constant rumbling. And I assume it probably still is to some degree because those earthquakes have continued throughout the night. They're continuing right now. And Jay says possibly a precursor for a bigger quake. It could be. It really could be. Good morning, Glesna. And so something that really caught my attention, though, out of anything with this earthquake is the technology that we now have to sense earthquakes. Did you know that a lot of folks in that region in California, they received a text message a few seconds prior to that earthquake? And that could be life-saving. It could be that early warning just may give you enough time to dive underneath a table or underneath some type of solid surface. And the earthquake said the emergency alert came through by text message, and it said earthquake detected, drop, cover, hold on, protect yourself. And that comes from the USGS shake alert. So I don't know if that's something that people in that region or in any region have to sign up for, or if it's just like an emergency broadcast situation where it goes out to everyone within a certain range. But I thought that was really interesting how many people said just seconds before they actually felt the earthquake, they received this warning. And I think that's fantastic because, again, if I was standing here now, of course, you may not be, and you might not even be able to react in those seconds. But if I were standing here right where I am now, and we had a text that come through that said, prepare for an earthquake, I could at least dive under my table. So it could potentially save some lives. I had never heard of that. I didn't know there was an early warning system for earthquakes. So that's something new I have learned today. There's a lot of things I want to talk about. I'm so happy about Colonel Joe Adams joining us at 8 a.m. He's a wealth of knowledge, a great person, a really good individual. And I can study and I can read and I can learn things and absorb things and talk to people about different topics. But Joe has lived, these situations. He's very well versed in all things political that's going on, not only here in our own country, but all across the world. He talks to the people on the inside. He still has intel briefings. He still knows exactly what's going on, and he knows before anyone else. So I really love his insight. I think he has a lot to offer, and hopefully he'll be joining us every Wednesday. I know he's a very busy man, so how long he'll be able to join us on Wednesdays, I do not know. But the longer we have him, the better. I think the better prepared all of us can and will be. And I like the knowledge. I'm one of those people where I like the knowledge. I love for somebody to enlighten me on things that I don't know or confirm things that I do know. I certainly have questions for Joe. And when Joe joins us, we have not spoken. I do not know what we're going to be talking about. I assume we're going to be talking about everything. But that's how I like things. I like everything to be fresh. I don't want anything to be pre-scripted. I told Joe, for guests on my show, there are no rules. There are no rules. People who come onto my show, they don't have to have a sponsor. I don't have sponsors. I'm not even looking for sponsors at this point. And so it's all just about getting the truth out. And that's what I think Joe is really good at. And there's, again, no rules. He can talk about any topic he wants. There should be nothing holding him back. So and that's going to be the case for all guests. I want everyone to feel welcome to speak their mind. Good morning, Nancy and Joe. So some of the things I want to get today outside of Colonel Joe Adams, and also not only that, but if I have a guest, then you don't have to listen to me drone on for 2 hours straight because I don't know how to take a break. I've learned a lot of things about the system, but one thing I have not learned is I don't have the faintest clue how to take a break, and that's okay because I've got usually more to talk about than you guys want to hear anyway. I don't even know if I'll be able to get everything in today. Joe says, "Where can I move that actually has real conservatives? It's not here." Well, believe it or not, Joe, I moved to Illinois. What I would consider, I almost sounded like Cammy laughing there, so I'm gonna try not to do that again. So I moved to Illinois, what I considered the land of the unfree. But believe it or not, in the area that I live in, there are more conservatives in this area than I ever came across in the state of Missouri. That is absolute truth. I don't know what's going on in the state of Missouri. Our politics in Illinois is not good. There's no question about it. It's not good because it's ruled by Chicago. And Joe, you know, I was a little bit disappointed by some of the Missouri results last night myself. Jay says outside of Chicago, Illinois, it's very red. The entire state of Illinois is red, except for the city of Chicago. And think about this, in the city of Chicago, most folks, just like in St. Louis, they don't even vote. So I really think even the city of Chicago is probably more red. As a matter of fact, we have quite a few listeners in the city of Chicago who are definitely red, but those people don't have a voice, just like we don't have a voice. Joe says, South St. Louis County is lost. You better believe it. All of St. Louis County is lost. It's crazy to me how progressivism has seeped in to St. Louis County. I'm from Chicago. I moved to St. Louis area, St. Louis County, back in 1986, I believe it was. And back then things were very different. Very different. Now all of a sudden, man, it's crazy. Joe, move on out here to Vandalia. I'll tell you what, you will see American flags and Trump flags all over town. I actually have a neighbor down the road here who has, his Gadsden flag, his Trump flag, his American flag, his red and blue lights out on his porch. I mean, people here, we are patriotic. And it's crazy to think you have to come to Illinois to find like minded people. But, the results were very disappointing. And I heard, as a matter of fact, I was going to get to this later, but gosh, we can talk about it now. I heard a lot of people talking about in Missouri that there was a lot of invalid registrations and people were still allowed to vote. And I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more about that. If that's true. I haven't heard everything. I heard a couple comments about people talking about people marking on their ballot. I heard a couple people talk about them being given Sharpies at the polling location. I hope everyone took their own ink pens, black ink pens. I hope that if anyone wrote on your ballot that you asked for a new one. And I hope you didn't write on your own ballot because we talked about those things the other day. Dottie says we should replace conservative with constitution. You're absolutely correct. Conservative can mean an awful lot of things to an awful lot of people. I don't know, Joe, if there was, cheating or not. I don't know. Monica says that Denny Hoskins winning was a huge win. I don't know a lot about Denny Hoskins. I really don't. I'm disappointed in Kehoe winning. I honestly, is there something about Kehoe that I don't know that everyone else knows? Because he definitely is not at the top of my choices. He's definitely not at the top. And I have no idea why Trump would have endorsed Kehoe for governor, Missouri governor. I will never understand it. And nothing in my mind tells me why that could possibly happen or why that happened. But yet it did happen. And I do think it made a big impact on the Missouri governor, race. And my personal vote, I'm not a Missouri voter any longer, would have been for Eigel, second, Ashcroft, Kehoe, and last. So I'm very confused about that. Very confused. And Sherry says Kehoe is for China. Yes, he is for China. Monica says he's the worst. Yes, he is the worst. I don't understand it. How did this happen? But we do have to be thankful, as some of you said, Cory Bush is out. One one less communist, in our government. Joe says should have been Eigel. I agree. I wish it had been Eigel. I love everything that Eigel stands for. And I like Ashcroft too. I've met both of them. I've, certainly met Eigel in a much more friendly, way, seen him out a lot more often because he's more local. But I like Ashcroft as well. So definitely some strange results that I really did not expect to see. And what is the other girl's name? Was it Gomez? What was her? Valentina Gomez. I was surprised how many people don't like her. And she came in, pretty far down on the ballot. And, I liked her ads. She was, somebody told me yesterday that she's like a bull in a china shop. And I said, well, that's exactly what we need in Missouri politics. But did she go too far? I didn't play any of her ads because I'm already on the bad list for Facebook. But I thought it was kind of refreshing in a way to have someone speak their mind, whether we like what they say or not. They're at least speaking their mind, and I agree, Sherry. And I'm surprised she didn't get more votes. I thought that we were all looking for change instead of politicians, and I don't like to vote for politicians. I like to vote for change. Paula says, I was told Democrats were taking Republican ballots and voting for Kehoe. Wouldn't surprise me because I don't understand how Kehoe won. I would be challenging that vote if I were Eigel or Ashcroft. I would certainly be challenging it. Amy says, I went to Eigel's events and had a great time with his fire blowers. Eigel's a really good guy. I've interviewed him numerous times. Super good person. Joe says he liked her, but the wimpy rhinos still run this town. They do. I am, Missouri politics. I hate to say it. I really do. Now that I don't live in Missouri, it's a little easier for me to say, but it's still the good old boys. It really is. And I hate to say that because at one time I thought I was in the party of good old boys and that's what I wanted, but I don't. And it's still run by politicians. It's still run by lobbyists, people that I like, in real life. These are people that I like, but yet they run the show. And unfortunately, when it comes to these folks, it's more about corporate money. It's still about corporate money. It's still all politics, dirty politics at that. And I don't like it. I really want something different. And I'm not going to find anything different, I don't think, in the state of Illinois either. I think in our country as a whole, we're not going to find anything different, which is probably why I like the Freedom Caucus so much. And Sherry says lobbyist, the new word for bribery. They're all looking out for corporate interests, and that's what runs our country, isn't it? The corporations are the folks who make our laws. The lobbyists are the people who write our laws, and that's really the truth. And I don't know how we're ever going to stop that, or because look at this election that just took place. It failed in so many ways, in my opinion. There were so many people who I think should have gotten in that did not. And it's very disappointing. Absolutely. Joe says that's why I believe they will cheat to keep people like Eigel out. No question about it. Good morning, Lane. No question about it, because Eigel, in my opinion, is one of us. Yes, he's a politician. No question about it. But in a good way. He knows what he's doing, and I like that. I don't know what's going to happen. I think that we're in a downward spiral. I don't think that we're going to be able to do anything to save our country. And I was thinking about it last night. I have these long drives back and forth to work, and I've plenty of time to think. And I was thinking, what is my advice when it comes to the situation? We have Harris and now Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. And I'm glad we had an opportunity over the past couple days to talk about Governor Tim Walz. When I saw last week that Harris had invited him, Josh Shapiro, and some other insignificant guy over to dinner, of course, we know that Harris has absolutely no choice in who her VP pick is. But when I saw that she invited him into dinner, I thought, that's going to be the guy. And I know we talked about it here on the show, several times. And then here it is. It was announced that, yes, it is Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, the most far left of all of the options. If there was any vetting, then they were just vetting to make sure he was the furthest to the left they could choose. And there's a reason why that happened. There's a reason why. And I don't know, I don't believe that Harris has any choice whatsoever who her VP pick is. I don't think Biden has any choice about her VP pick. But what I'm curious about, Waltz doesn't seem like the kind of guy that's going to sit back and type emails all day like Harris did as a VP. I really do think I do think they're going to win because I don't think we have any option whatsoever. And I think that when they do win, I think he's going to be running the show, not her, him. And so it's all starting to come together and make more sense for me now because they didn't want to put him on the ballot by himself, right? So what better way to get him involved as than for him to be the VP? We know Biden didn't run the show, right? We know the deep state, shadow government, whatever you want to call them, those are the folks running the show. And Dottie says the easiest to puppeteer, and I don't, and Paula says tampon Tim. That's so funny because we're going to talk about that. I'm definitely going to go over some notes about Minnesota Governor Tim Walz because it's shocking. Well, it shouldn't be shocking. This is what they want, isn't it? He's going to be running the show. And you know what we're left with? We have two choices. We can fight or we can adapt. That's it. Fight or adapt. And I don't want to see violence on the street, so I think adapt is probably your better option because I don't think we can win. What are you going to do when in November, when Harris and Walz wins this election, and they will, when they win this election, because I don't think we can outsmart them. I don't think we can out cheat them. I really don't. I think they have everything in their pocket, and I don't really think there's anything we can do. I hope I'm wrong. I pray every day that I'm wrong. But what are we going to do? And you're right, Sherry. Adaptation is why we're here. But what choice do we have? You're going to go out to the streets and fight, and then what? Lose your life, lose the lives of your family members, end up in prison because that's where you'll end up. You'll end up in prison if you go out and fight. And normally I'd be the first person to say, hey, let's get out and fight for our lives and for our freedom and for everything this country stands for. But I think we have to find a more strategic way of getting at them, more strategic. And there's little wins. Right now we're seeing little wins. Something I saw today, Senator Kansas City or Kansas, the state of Kansas, Senator Roger Marshall, he's calling for an investigation into Google. Google's had a bad week. The judgment against them yesterday about their monopoly on search engines. And then now, Senator Roger Marshall, he wants them to be investigated for election interference, which of course we know they do, because he of course claims that when you go in and you search a term, that it's going to throw out all of these leftist agendas. It's going to throw out all of the articles and news that you would want to see to sway you towards the left. And we're starting. That's a start. If we can have our search engines, if we can have our internet free and fair, that's a start. Of course, I'm grasping at straws here because I don't know what else to say, because I can't say go out and fight for your country or I'll go to prison today. Jay says everything that's happening is a result of conservatives being complacent and not voting. You are well, you're right to some extent, Jay, because we are complacent and we're not voting. We are not going as far as the Democrats go. Democrats, they will open up their pocketbooks and they will pay homeless people $20 a piece to get them on a bus and take them to the polling location. And, they will go out in door to door and they will register voters and they will pay them to register. They will pay people to, there's no doubt. And we all know it's true. And I'm going to get to that in a little while because there was an Arizona governor or an Arizona representative who received one of these letters that said, hey, we're willing to pay you if you want to go on your social media and say you support Harris. So out of all of these endorsements that Harris received, how many of them were paid for? I'm going to say a good portion of them. I will bet you anything that there is somebody on the Harris campaign who is calling all of these different Democrats across the country, and I'm talking about Democrat leaders, Democrats in Congress, and saying, hey, what would you like? We'll send you $100,000 if you endorse Harris. I can guarantee you that's going on. Good morning, Matthew. I guarantee you that is exactly what's happening. Why aren't we doing that? you know, we have money. We have a lot of campaign money coming in. Why aren't we paying people? Why aren't we getting the upper hand on the cheating? Fight fire with fire, right? I'm all for cheating. I really am, because we can't have a free and fair election in this country. We have no choice but to cheat, right? So let's get out and cheat better than they do, but we're not doing it. We are complacent. We're not getting out and voting. And we have to make it count. We really do. I can't wait to see the polling numbers, how many people voted in the Missouri primary. I cannot wait to see, because I will bet you anything those numbers are very, very low. Robert says, and the payment funding comes from the kickback scheme from the government, Planned Parenthood. Of course it does. They have all of these different funds that people donate money into, put money into, and then instead of them really using that money, as an example, Planned Parenthood, into what it's really intended for, it just goes out and it buys votes. That there's no question about it. Most of the government programs are covers for something else, for vote stealing, and it's really a shame. And I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I truly feel that most Democrats, the Democrats we know, who we count as friends, people we see in our community, the Democrats, for one, they probably don't know this is going on. Why? Because they're watching MSNBC, they're watching CNN. Those channels don't talk about it. They do not talk about the same things we're talking about. And someone told me yesterday, they're like, well, we talk about a lot of good topics, but we're preaching to the choir, because the people who need to hear it, they're not hearing it. I really do think that the Democrats in this country, they really, a lot of them have no idea what's going on. They have no idea what's going on. They hear us talking about how incredible, so far left Harris is, so far left Walz is, and they just don't get it. They're not hearing the truth. And I don't know how to get the truth to them. And that's why I do think that going after Google for, not only being the monopoly on the search browser, but also for their election interference, I do think that's a starting point. Because this way, when you have your leftist friends out there doing some internet searches, the very few who care to search or research anything about politics, at least maybe they'll see some truth, because they're not seeing it now. I would like to take all of the Democrats and, put them in a room and force them to listen to some truth, but it's not happening. I don't think that our Democrat friends would want a socialist, a communist president and vice president. I don't think that's what they want, but I don't think they know. Jay says they are perfectly happy being spoon-fed their information. Yes, they are. And I don't know how to change that. I spend a lot of time wondering, how do we change that? And I don't know. I really don't know. Sherry says, I had a convo with an old friend that claims in their area on the East Coast, they've never even heard of the invasion. People don't know. People don't know. They do not know. And Robert says about foreign aid. Yes. Money that goes to Israel, money that goes to Ukraine, Pakistan, Afghanistan. That money is absolutely funneled back to us. It's a form of money laundering. Some of it is, no question about it. And Glessna, it's so funny. You said you hope Elon Musk money helps. I do too. I heard that Musk might be backtracking on the donations. And I think what he ended up deciding to do, instead of that money, I can't remember how much, what was it? 40 million a month, or 37, I can't remember, million per month he was going to give to the Trump campaign. Well, he ended up starting his own political action committee. And so he and his buddies have been putting those millions into their political action committee, but still, in very much in support of Trump. And I thought this was kind of funny. I'm going to play this for you guys, because this is about Musk now that you're bringing it up. Glesna, it's just something silly. but I thought it was really funny. So I'm going to play this for you and hopefully can mute my sound enough where it's not echoey. I thought that was hilarious. I don't know what you guys think. I don't really know what the point of it was, but it was pretty darn funny in my opinion. Sherry says Elon interviewing Trump on Monday. Yes, I have that on my notes today. He is going to be. It is really crazy to I can't wait. I'm going to have to make sure I think I work that night. Well, I will record it and I'm going to make sure that we talk about that the next day. Elon and Trump together. And Elon Musk, boy, every day he is making headlines every single day. And it's kind of crazy to think about how many times his name is mentioned to different people. It's been cracking me up seeing some of the rhetoric about Elon Musk out there and how he is single-handedly swayed the election, or I should say not the election, but the protests in Venezuela. and you know, and speaking of that, as a matter of fact, X, formerly Twitter, Elon Musk, of course, owning X, which I do like X. X has changed. It's not Twitter anymore. Rumble, they're suing ad agencies. All of these ad agencies have come together and they have decided to boycott both Rumble and X. Why? Because they're telling too much truth. They're telling too much truth. And I actually watched an interview last night. It was too long to play here, but this guy who was a complete snowflake, he was going on and on about how Elon Musk should be sued and he should be put in prison. He needs to be in Gitmo because his platform X is spreading so much information and God forbid people are, being influenced by all of this information. But that's how the left feels, isn't it? They see truth as misinformation. I think so many of them are so misguided, they don't even know what the truth is. They have absolutely no idea what the truth is. And that's really sad to me that they don't even know. And this guy was losing his mind. And so Elon Musk, the owners of Rumble, they are suing these different ad agencies because they said, you know what, you're trying to force us out. You're trying to bankrupt us. We're obviously these platforms can't really exist without advertising. And these, advertising agencies, they understand that. And these advertising agencies, they're paid a lot of money, from the left to boycott, platforms like this. Look what happened to True Social. Look what happened to, I can't even remember the name of the platform that was before Truth Social, but I really liked it. And guess what? A Parlor. That's what it was. Parlor. If anybody remembers Parlor, I really liked Parlor. And then what happened? They were deplatformed. That's exactly what happened. And that's what they're trying to do to X. That's what they're trying to do to Rumble. Anywhere you can share truth, they're going to try to deplatform you. And yeah, Margie, the new VP, man, that guy. I've got some notes on him. I wasn't planning on getting to this right now, but hey, why not? Right? Why not? What better time than now? And I got to watch the time too, because Colonel Joe Adams will be popping in at some point this morning to join us. And hopefully my technical experience will be enough to get him on. I think it'll be fine. Hoping and praying. Please say some prayers for me. So let's see here. Here are some different talking points I've seen mentioned about Governor Tim Walz. Now, if you've been listening to this show for the past few days, I've been talking about Minnesota Governor Tim Walz because when I saw again that he was meeting with Harris for dinner at her home, which of course is just a front because we all know again she has no choice in who the pick is for VP, but they need to make it look good, right? Make it look legit. As a matter of fact, she's even made statements that said, well, I chose him. I didn't really know anything about him, but I chose him because I really liked his personality. Oh, That's what she says. That's why he was chosen. No, he was chosen because he's the most communist of all of the choices. That's why. And because he is also anti-Israel. Waltz is very anti-Israel, which is so ironic. And I'm going to get more into that later. I said it yesterday. How is it? How are they speaking out of both sides of their mouth? Democrats are saying, and by Democrats, I mean the Biden Harris administration, we stand behind Israel. We are committed to Israel. We will help you in anything that you need. We will give you money, weapons, whatever it is you need. We are fully committed. Yet we know that Biden, Harris, and Waltz are anti Israel. We know that they are all for and promote these groups who are pro Palestinian. And it's strange to me that they can say they're so for Israel, but yet also anti-Israel. It makes no sense to me at all. It's one thing that I cannot quite wrap my head around. And what I would really wish they would say is what most of us feel is that why can't we just want peace? I am not anti-Palestinian. I'm not anti-Gaza. I am not anti-Israel. I am pro-humanity, all humanity. I don't want to see any lives lost. I am tired of the fighting. I'm tired of wars. Tired of waking up in the morning and seeing that rockets have been launched into different areas. And that happened again last night, skirmishes back and forth. Nothing unusual, but I'm sick of seeing it. Why can't we all just pray for peace for everybody? How about that? Why do we have to take sides? I don't get it. I do not get it. We should have zero tolerance for anyone killing anyone. How about that for a change? So, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. There's so much to talk about him. Stolen valor. I'm going to post a video to my Telegram channel. It's too long to play here, where we have a gentleman who is a veteran who served with Tim Walz. And he claims that he stole his title, and that he's lying about his rank. And when you look at the documents, it's been proven to be true that he is lying about his rank. How is that allowed in a world where we call out people who claim to be who they are not, especially when it comes to military ranking? And he certainly did lie. I looked into the facts. He did lie. And so that's one thing. He is accused of quitting when his unit deployed to Iraq. He had signed on for a couple more years of service. When his unit deployed to Iraq, all of a sudden he dropped out and said he was, wanted to run for Congress. So think what you might about that. He's visited China 30 times. Why would anyone need to visit China 30 times? That doesn't make sense to me, but it does when you know who he is. There's no question that a Harris Waltz combination, a team, an administration, a regime is what I call it. It's a regime. There is no question they're going to usher China in. No question about it. China is going to be taking over our country. They're not going to stop anything. Not going to stop it. I'm not sure how you feel about this. This one to me is I have mixed thoughts on this. He signed a bill for a program in Minnesota which gave free lunch to all children at certain schools. I didn't understand if it was all public schools or just maybe lower income public schools. I didn't really understand the full grasp of that bill, and I didn't look it up. But he created a bill for free lunch for all students, and apparently it's been very popular in Minnesota. And Republicans went after him because they said, why did you give free lunch to all students? Why didn't you at least base it on demographics or base it on income? So we have parents who are wealthy parents, some of them, and yet their children still get free lunch. And now I don't know if I have a problem with that, quite honestly. According to the study they did, of course, these are Democrats doing these studies, 50% of kids ate more food at school. More kids were having breakfast at school, more kids were having lunch at school. And they claim that it came out to be about $2 a day per student, which that still adds up to a lot of money. It really does. But, when it comes to kids, I think I'm okay with children having free lunch at school. I'm not going to go too hard against that, but I'm very curious what everyone else thinks. And of course, everybody's calling him Tampon Tim. And I wish I had more room to show this video because there's a really funny video about that as well. He he fought very hard to have tampons placed in boys' restrooms. This is something that's happening all across the country. It's not just Minnesota. It's silly, in my opinion. But that goes into a larger issue, doesn't it? In my opinion, why do we have why do we have girls in a boys' bathroom? I'm a firm believer when it comes to bathrooms, and we're going to be talking about this a lot in the future because you know good and well as VP, he is going to do everything he can to have gender neutral bathrooms and locker rooms and sports and everything else. That is coming. It is coming. And we thought Biden was bad. Biden, he created a bill, it was an executive order that took away Title IX funding from schools that did not allow, let's say, boys into girls' locker rooms and bathrooms and girls into boys' locker rooms and bathrooms. So if you refused to allow, let's say, a 17-year-old boy into a girl's locker room, you would lose your Title IX funding as a public school. And I think Walz is going to be even so much further to the left of that. I don't even know what's coming. You know, I know we have a situation in our country where there's certainly in every country where there are trans girls and trans boys. And I understand they have a need that needs to be met. And now more than ever, because we're seeing this more than ever, the number is growing drastically. Why can't schools have like the family bathrooms, or a single restroom for these kids to use? I will never agree that girls belong in boys' bathrooms and locker rooms and girls in boys and girls back and forth. I will never agree to that. But I do feel okay saying that they should have a place they can go where they feel comfortable. So why can't that be a single stall bathroom, a private, we see them family bathrooms in different places. That's my answer. That's not going to be the answer of Walz. Nope, he's going to have everybody all mixed together. Jay says, under Walz, Minneapolis Police Department down 40%. No question about it. And that is going to get so much worse. Remember how we had the war on police under Obama? Wait till these two step in because they have zero respect for law enforcement. Zero. If you're a law enforcement officer, you're approaching retirement's probably time to go. So as we know, in Walz absolutely supports men and women's sports. Big backer of that. So that's certainly going to happen. Gender reassignment surgery, and then just gender reaffirmment, gender care. He is a huge supporter to the extent where if you are a parent in Minnesota and your child wants to take puberty blockers or they want to have gender reassignment surgery, well, guess what? If you refuse that to them, they can take your children away. They consider that to be abuse in Minnesota. So, that's probably going to come to a state near you, probably your own state. Think about that. COVID, we all know what happened to COVID. He created a snitch line. Do you remember that? So people, and this happened to different areas too, but he created a statewide snitch line where if you witnessed your neighbor out walking without a mask on around the neighborhood, guess what? You could call the snitch line. And crazy, asking neighbors to tattle on each other. You know what? That happened right before the Holocaust, didn't it? Leading up to the Holocaust, people were asked to tattle on their neighbors, tell us what they're doing. And we can't have that. That's messed up. I've talked about it for the past couple days here on the show about his reaction during the George Floyd riots that took place there in the Minnesota St. Paul area and in different areas of Minneapolis. And his actions were uncalled for. He delayed calling the National Guard in by a full day. And then when he did make a plan for the National Guard to come in, his daughter leaked the plans. You can't tell me that wasn't intentional, so that protesters knew where to go to avoid the National Guard. And while he delayed the National Guard coming in to to create some peace amongst these extremely violent protests, people died, and I'm going to play this video of Waltz's wife. I didn't look up her name because you know why? I don't have enough respect for them to care what her name is. It's Waltz's wife, and this is disgusting to me because she talks about leaving her windows open so she could smell the burning tires. Well, she wasn't just smelling burning tires. Do you know there was one person on that night who was in a building and somebody threw in a Molotov cocktail and that building caught on fire and that man died. He burned to death in that building. And I have seen separate videos that I will never play for you where you see the protesters outside. They have no idea that this man is even in there because they weren't really, I guess, paying attention, but you could hear this man screaming for his life and he died. And then she has the nerve to go on and talk about the smell of burning tires and how she left her windows open to smell the burning tires. I mean, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And of course, I don't know where the video is. I guess it's not going to be my day for videos, but I do have it here somewhere. Maybe we'll play it. Oh, no, here it is. I'm sorry. I'm just losing my mind. Let me play this here for you guys.
I would say those first days, when there were riots, I could smell the burning tires. And that was a very real thing. And I kept the windows open for as long as I could because I felt like that was such a touchstone of what was happening.
All the while, two people died that night, actually. One person died, and as a matter of fact, the fire they showed there, it was right next to that building that later caught on fire. A person died. They didn't find his body for a week later. No one even knew he was in there or that he perished in the fire, but he did. And we had one person who was found in a vehicle, and I can't recall if the vehicle was burned, but they did find a body in the vehicle as well. And as Jay said, and Jay, I've been talking about this for 3 or 4 days now. Fox reported 1,500 businesses burned in those protests. Yes, I believe it was $50 million in damage. All of these people, business owners, lost their businesses. Many of them have never been able to reopen. And I'm glad we were able to talk about it before they announced it because we all had a head start in knowing, how these people are and what to expect. It's really disgusting. It makes me sick, quite honestly, and we had to put up with that. And Joe says, "Why would you keep the windows open?" I guess she felt like she was part of things. I don't know. Ryan says his wife looks like Hillary. Matthew, I knew Waltz was pretty awful, but wow, know that the lefties are trying to paint him as a moderate Midwesterner, though, including Nancy Pelosi of all people. Yes, yes, no question about it. I don't know. I don't know how to handle it. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know where we go from here. I think you either have to, like I said earlier, you either have to make your choices. You fight or you adapt, one or the other, because I don't see how they'll ever allow Trump to win. I think we're going to see Harris and Waltz win. I don't think there's anything we can do about it. I hope and pray I'm wrong. We all need to hope and pray that I'm wrong. I've never wanted to be more wrong than I am about that. Hopefully, Joe will be joining us soon. I haven't seen him pop in yet, but he hasn't joined our show before, so he's dealing probably with our stream trying to get in. And but if I do see him pop in, I'll let you guys know. If for some reason, if our technology didn't work out or he's not able to join us this morning, I will definitely let you all know. But I am looking forward to talking to him for certain because there are so many things to talk about. Did you guys see that and this goes back to Iran, of course, because I want to blame everything on Iran, that they're trying to say a Pakistani hitman was attempting to assassinate Trump. And somehow they're trying to turn that around and correlate that with Crooks and the assassination attempt in Pennsylvania. And Joe Adams, he's ready to go. Well, Joe, when I haven't seen you pop in the stream yet. When I pop you in, I will add you, but I don't see you yet. but that might be my fault. I don't see anyone coming in. But I did send you the link, Joe, if you're listening. So anyway, this guy, Asif Merchant, 46 years old, Pakistani citizen. He has been charged here in the United States by United States authorities. He allegedly paid $5,000 to an undercover, I can't talk today, undercover agent. And he had talks with these undercover agents through the months of, I guess they said he was planning an attack in August and or September from what I hear. So, I don't know. What do you think? I have a hard time believing it. Iran apparently laughed, so they say. And I'm not buying it, quite honestly. Did this man talk about assassinating Trump? Maybe. There's probably a billion people out there talking about assassinating Trump, especially in foreign countries, because they know Trump means business. He means business. So whether that's connected, I don't know. I saw that Josh Hawley continues to look into the investigation of the attempted assassination. I saw that he added some new notes to that, and I didn't write them down, but what he had stated was that, anytime that you have an event, a secure event, that you are going to add, that you're going to have somebody come in to analyze the threat assessment, right? And for whatever reason, that didn't happen here at the Pennsylvania rally. They did not have anyone. The person that was supposed to be there to analyze and do the threat assessment never came to the event. They were never put in charge of the event. So there was no one there. When we talk about them choosing perimeters and deciding where to go, didn't happen. It did not happen. So Colonel Joe, I think you're here. I'm going to see if I can find you. All right. Well, I don't see you on camera, Joe. Are you here with us? Let's see. That could be my fault. I don't think so. Well, Joe, when you join us, we are here. We will see you pop in. But I don't see you on camera right now, but I do see that you are waiting to join. So we will get back to Joe here in just a moment. And let's see here. As soon as he joins us. I can't wait to talk to Joe because there are so many things to talk about. There's so much going on, so many things to cover. I know Joe's going to give us a really good assessment of everything that's going on, not only here in our own country, but all across the world. And outside of that, let's see, we got so many other things to cover while we're waiting for Joe to join us. I can see him I can't see him. I see that he is in the studio waiting, and I see that he's got his name typed in. Looks like he's got maybe volume, but I don't see his photo. Okay, he's coming. He'll be here. Don't worry. We'll get him. It'll be my first interview. I'm kind of excited on the new show. In the technology, as you guys know, it's been a little difficult to say the least. So we'll see when he pops in. I'm going to get some other things going here and make sure that we can hear him. Somebody said they heard his voice briefly, but I did not hear him. So hopefully when he does pop in with us, I will also be able to hear him. And so anyway, I'll continue on about some other things while we are awaiting for his system to restart. So Iran last night, very quiet in Iran. Nothing happened, overnight. And let's see here, Joe. I don't see you on camera, Joe, but I do see you in the studio, just not on camera. I'll pull you up so that when you do join us, we will see you here.
I'm invisible.
We got your volume going. We got you here. Can you guys hear Joe? Or can you see him and maybe I can't?
I'm here, but I'm invisible.
Sorry, Joe. I'm not sure what's going on, but I do not see you or hear you. So we will keep working on that. We will never give up. That's for sure. And so anyway, quiet on the Iran front. I didn't really expect anything to happen last night because all of the chatter I'm hearing is all about the 8th, what's going to happen on the 8th. So we'll see if something else does come up. I'm not really sure. You guys say you can hear Joe. Well, I don't know why I can't hear him. I've got all of my sound up, and he said he is invisible. All right, guys, I'm going to throw a photo up here for you guys to look at and let this sink in. And I'm going to try to go back and figure out how I can get Joe where I can hear him, because I don't see him or hear him. So I'm gonna throw this photo up. You guys can take a long, hard look at this while I look and see where I can find Joe. All right, guys, I am.
Good morning, Tabitha. You sure that thing's working? Good morning, Tabitha.
What could be weirder than signing a bill into law that requires schools to stock tampons
not
in
me.
boys' bathrooms? Or weirder than signing legislation allowing
That is not my
minors to receive
commercial.
sex change operations? Try electing the man who signed those bills Vice President of the United States. Enter Chief Weirdo Tim Walz. As governor of Minnesota, Walz supported legislation
Morning,
that
Tammy.
endangers
Morning, Bill.
minors, hurts women, and puts radical ideology ahead of common sense. Now Kamala wants Walz to enforce those laws on a national scale. Tim Walz, too weird, too radical.
We can try it again tomorrow if you want to.
Please welcome President Ronald Reagan, who has a few questions for you.
All of you will go to the polls, will stand there in the polling place and make a decision. I think when you make that decision, it might be well if you would ask yourself, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Is it easier for you to go and buy things in the stores than it was 4 years ago? Is there more or less unemployment in the country than there was 4 years ago? Is America as respected throughout the world
That was not
as it
me,
was?
Joe.
Do you feel that our security is as safe, that we're as strong as we were 4 years ago? If you don't think that this course that we've been on for the last 4 years is what you would like to see us follow for the next 4, then I could suggest another choice that you have.
President Trump. He'll make America great again.
Hi, guys. I am still working to get Joe on. He's still in there hanging in with us, but I cannot find him. And
I can hear
oh,
you
is that
now.
you, Joe? I hear you. Do you guys
That's
hear
okay.
Joe?
I like being invisible. That's okay.
You know, I can't see you, Joe, but I do hear you.
Okay.
Do you have the camera turned on your
Oh, yeah.
laptop?
Oh, yeah.
You do.
Stop this in.
Well, I am sorry. I don't know why we can't see you, but
We'll just chat and we can work it out after hours.
yeah, but at least we can hear you. I am sorry. At least I found some sound. I don't know why the video is not working, so I apologize for that, everybody. But at least we have Joe here. We can hear him. Hopefully, you guys can hear him. I can hear him now, and sorry about all of my crazy technical issues. I will eventually get it worked out. And while Joe's talking, I'm probably going to play around with some camera settings here. But anyway, Joe, thank you, and welcome to Tabs on Tap. I am so sorry we're having some technical issues. When I tell everybody all the time, today is my 14th episode, so I'm still a little bit new at all of this, and you are my very first guest, and I'm very glad to hear you, and I'm very glad that you are here with us. And so first, Joe, can you tell, there's a few, most people here know who you are. They're very familiar with you. Can you tell the folks who don't know you, who do not know anything about you quite yet, can you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Well, my history, first of all, my military career started in 1970 when I enlisted in the Marine Corps. And then after I did my tour of duty, I left the Marine Corps and went into foreign services, working with naval intelligence and our American intelligence system, and actually received commissions in foreign militaries. So I've actually served in 5 militaries in total in my career in over a span of 21 years. So I've got a good handle on how other militaries operate, and it's especially the Russians with the war in Ukraine, because in 1991 I was field commander of the First Special Forces Group, Second Brigade, Croatian Rangers, and these men in Yugoslavia, of course, were trained by the Soviets, the Stalin period, in Tito's period, and so I know their tactics and what they do. So I have a good input in exactly what's going on over there. It's especially any place in the world. But I was when I left the military, then I was a private investigator for 26 years. Now understand that I retired from military operations in 1991, so I've been around a while. And then I retired from being a private investigator. In fact, uh, I consider myself probably in the private investigative world, I was probably the number one private investigator in the entire planet. And so I retired and got married, tried to settle down. That didn't work. I mean, the marriage worked, but me settling down did not. So I put together an intelligence operation as a contractor with the United States Border Patrol. And I worked out there for 12 years. And so I survived the Bush administration on the border, Obama, and then a miracle happened and Donald Trump was elected and everything changed on the border. And so a lot of the Border Patrol agents would ask me, what Colonel, why are you out here? What brings you to our country? And I said, well, there's a need for it. There's a tremendous intelligence gap between the ranchers and you people. We operate it different. We actually go out into the desert and find the smugglers and then report them and have arrest them. So it worked out real well. And then Donald Trump was elected and everything changed dramatically. And we were able to do our job. In fact, last month, I had the largest sector in Border Patrol. And last month, well, in 2018, I retired from Border Patrol because we were down to 400 apprehensions a month. And frankly, I was getting bored. And
I bet.
I was getting bored. It wasn't enough action. So I'd done my job. I worked myself out of a job very effectively. And then, of course, the elections happened and everything turned to crap. So last month in my sector, they did 12,500 apprehensions, up from 400 when I left. So I was talking about Invasion USA back in 2005, and actually gave the Attorney General a video of Middle Easterns coming across, escorted by the cartel and the coyotes, and nothing ever came of that. Said, who are these people? There's military personnel in full camouflage coming across the border, being escorted by the cartel, and no one's doing anything. So I did my job. I came home, retired. The elections happened, and then I was finally going to get a chance to go play golf and go fishing. Spent thousands of dollars in golf equipment, haven't used them yet. So people came to my junior officers and said, Colonel, what's the chance of starting a militia because of the what's going to happen to this country? This was in 2021. And I said, I think that's a good idea. You need to develop a defensive posture someplace that you can defend and help the community and work with first responders and law enforcement. And they said, that's a good idea. We want you to lead it. I go, whoa. I've retired 3 times already. Why don't you guys take it and I'll support you and I'll help you? But they said no. So we sold our home in Washington, in St. Louis at the corner of Clayton and Hanley, Hampton Park subdivision, and I moved to Washington, Missouri, just to start the militia. And here I am.
And that would be the Washington Guard, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Washington Guard. And
Washington Guard.
right. Our big thing is the Washington Guard has evolved unlike what I thought it was going to be. It was simply going to be veterans and prepare for the worst. And what happened was normal average people came to me and said, Colonel, I don't have any skills. I was never in the military and I'm scared. Is there anything that we can do to help you and maybe help ourselves? And so this thing has evolved and taken on a whole life of its own. I started out with 9 people, and we have over 200 now active, and we have associates in 12 states and 7 foreign countries that follow my word. People are paying attention because they're scared. We work with we simply we are our first responder support mechanism. We're the only militia in the United States that's in the Chamber of Commerce here in Commerce, and months ago, we understand who you are, we understand your background, and we like you being here. What's the chance of your militia assisting us and our first responders and just join us? And I said, well, that's why we're here. And if you need us, we're here. He said, well, let's coordinate that effort a little closer. He said, I'm not beyond flipping you one of our radios when there's an emergency. And so that's what we've been doing, preparing for natural disaster, civil unrest, whatever comes, the economy crashes, whatever, to help the community and support the most important people in our community. And I'm not talking about the politicians. I'm talking about our first responders. And that's why we're here.
Absolutely. And Joe, I'm so glad you mentioned that because, so many people, and you've been a guest on almost every show I've been on for the past 5 years. And I've had so many people come to me and say, a militia, it's a bunch of skinheads. Why would you have somebody from a militia on your show? And I think people don't understand exactly what a militia does. Now, maybe there are some militias that are skinheads and, that are anarchists, but that's not the case. When there's a major flood, you guys are there to the rescue. You do a lot of assistance. What was it, a couple years ago when there was a tornado in Defiance? You guys mobilized and you were there. And, we ask ourselves, and I was telling people earlier on the show, I feel like if Harris and Walz win this election, and I firmly believe they will, because I think everything is in their favor as far as cheating and every other dirty trick Democrats play. I keep telling people, we're going to have 2 options. We fight or we adapt. And, I think the Washington Guard is another option because here you have like-minded people. You're in a defensive situation, but you know what? You are prepared. You are prepared. And I think people are scared to be on their own, to be alone, not have any assistance. And if anyone joins the Washington Guard, and I'm assuming you're still open for applicants, it's a great place for people to learn prepping skills, to practice a shooting range. There's so many different things that you offer to your Guard members.
Well, I cover all aspects of being there when society fails. Now, the problem is, I've been, I do a lot of speaks around the area. In fact, I've been on a hiatus for about the last 4 months where haven't done any interviews or anything, but I'm coming back now. I had to leave. I'm a member of 2 think tanks, and we cover different topics. And so that's taken up all of my time, and any extra time I have, of course, goes to the Guard. We muster every 3rd Saturday every month and train. But what you're talking about, we train on all aspects. I mean, everything you can think of: medical, survival, food preparation, anything that you can think about as being on your own for a period of time. That's how we train our people and prepare the community. But this word militia, now, when did militia become a bad word?
Right. It's in our Constitution.
Well, if it wasn't for the militia that joined George Washington, we'd be having a cup of tea instead of a cup of coffee in the morning. Okay. So,
yes.
And I've been challenged at different speaks. Why do you, maybe Colonel, you shouldn't call yourself a militia because it's not, correct. It's not. I go, no, I am not going to give in. We are a militia. We are an armed militia to protect the community and what we've done to prepare for the inevitable. And I mean the inevitable. This country, the citizen of this country, in this United States, people ask me all the time, where are we today? I said, I'll say exactly where we are today. This country is treading water. treading water to our way of life, and there's not a lifeboat in sight. So practice your swimming skills because we are treading water. So
We
I refuse to cater and say that we are not a militia. Yes, we are a militia, but we are a militia of the people, just like with the people who joined George Washington. And that's the kind of people we are. We are like-minded people. Are we armed? Yes. And now the only thing that separates us from the total totalitarian government regime that's in power right now are our guns. And believe me,
Mhm.
they're coming after our guns.
Under a Harris Walz administration, they are absolutely coming for your guns. And you know, Joe, I know many members of the Washington Guard, all phenomenal people. Some of them I certainly think of as good friends, all really wonderful people, like-minded people. How can people reach out and contact you about joining the Washington Guard?
They just simply the WashingtonGuard.com, and all the information is right there. How to apply, for that. And of course, everybody has to succumb to background checks. And the sheriff that I work with out here, God bless him, we have a great sheriff who was just won the election yesterday again. Uh, you know, we do background checks, and it's one thing he said is, Colonel, you are doing background checks. Yes, everybody's vetted. If there's a question
Yes.
on the vetting, there's a problem, then I interview the person and find out what the problem was and let them explain themselves. So we have to have, because we work with law enforcement out here, we have to have people that can pass a background check. And if they go on the WashingtonGuard.com, there's a lot of information on there about that. And just to do a quick commercial, we've got an event coming up September the 7th, which is our third annual. And it's called The Price of Freedom, and they can get tickets and be there. And of course, this year, and in the past we've been our honor recipient. We've been John Teagan, who was one of the Marines that stood his ground and violated orders, but he did his job. We've had Colonel Doc Ballard, who's got 8 Purple Hearts in the Medal of Honor recipients. He's one of our people. And the list goes on and on. And so the Price of Freedom this week, this in September the 7th, we're bringing in a movie star who's a real patriot, and Marshall Teague, and you've seen him a lot. Teague. I'm sorry, I get Teague and Teagan mixed up with John Teague, who was in the movie 13 Hours. Anyway, so Marshall Teague will be here this year, and our guest speaker, and there'll be some other celebrities there too.
And that's on September 7th. We'll keep everybody updated on that because that's extremely important. Hopefully everyone can make it out. I hope to and plan to attend as well.
Marshall Teague, he's a U.S. Navy veteran and national kickboxing champion. You've seen him with, he's a star in Roadhouse, the movie.
Oh, I'm very familiar with him. Absolutely. Very commendable.
Yeah, Texas Ranger with big martial arts. So it'll be a great event.
Yep.
It's a third annual, and all the reason we have events to raise money, of course, and without that we can't support first responders. All of the money goes into training and supporting our people and continue training, because it costs a lot of money to train somebody and to support our first responders when they need us.
No question about it. Thank God we have you in the Washington Guard because, it's such a unique thing to Missouri. And I know there's other militias out there, but they're not all the same. They're absolutely not all the same. And I love what you guys are doing. It's a true service to our country, and really one of the last stands of freedom that we have open to us, is to join a militia such as the Washington Guard. So I certainly encourage everyone to look at your website, to contact you, to do whatever they can to attend your event, make some donations and so on. Because Joe, as you know, we're living in some trying times. We've talked on this show about it being a battle between good and evil. We have right now the world is on fire. What do you make of this situation between Israel, Iran, Hezbollah, the Houthis? Hamas. It's crazy, isn't it?
Well, anybody would get out there and protest, but these protesters are a reflection of our college education. These kids are programmed. They're the new Marxists. They're the future communists of this country. They're traitors and don't even know it. They've been brainwashed. They're pitiful. I mean, they make me sick. But that's what happens when you go to school. We had a guy on my team in the desert, one of my lieutenants, and he said, my daughter was my best friend when she was growing up. We did everything together, fish, hunt. I mean, she's an incredible person until I sent her off to college, and now she doesn't even speak
No
to me.
question.
It was
A lot of
great.
college. Well, exactly. Look at Harvard and Yale, prestigious colleges. Now all of a sudden all they're doing is churning out socialists, communists. I don't know how we ever got to this point. No, no, Joe. I know you are an expert. Like I was telling everybody, I can read, I can study, I can do, all of these different things, and I get a good idea of what's going on in the world. But yet, I don't have the experience that you have. Do you think Iran is going to strike Israel? Do you think there's a possibility they're going to also strike the United States in some way, whether, it's to our infrastructure or our power grid or our internet system or hacking? We're hearing that it's going to be a coordinated effort between Iran, Hamas again, maybe the Houthis, probably not, and of course Hezbollah. What do you think we're going to see from Iran?
Well, first of all, I've done several shows with you and some of your associates. I was saying 10 years ago that tactically we should turn Iran into a parking lot, but no one listened to me, and this is where we're at. By attacking Israel, they are attacking the United States. They really are, and that's just the start. These people aren't going to stop. This whole war in Ukraine is totally unnecessary. The Hamas attack was unnecessary. I mean, just so you know that we have drops over there. Well, let's see. Let me explain what a drop is. Now, I've been a drop several times for the military. A drop is a that you put inside, drop them inside, not by parachute. You're an implant into the community, and you get to feel the community of what's going on. There's no way with the intelligence sources that Israel had and our drops inside, plus other countries' drops, that we didn't see this coming. Now, go back a few years, and I was fortunate to have dinner with a former prime minister of Israel. And after dinner and everything, and he did his little speak, I got him off to the side, and I said, "Hey, Colonel to Colonel, let me ask you a question. What the hell are you waiting on? You know what's coming." And he goes, "Yes, I know it's coming." I go, "Then why don't you strike first? Hit them." And he says, "The West will not allow it." He didn't say NATO. He said the West. And look where we're at today. Last year, I was speaking at the Washington Prize of Freedom. And as I was speaking on October the 7th, almost and captain held for hostage and ransom. That was their plan. As I was talking about, at some place and sometime in your life, you're going to be on your own. And what I mean is, first responders, think what that says. They respond to an incident that is happening or has already happened. You're on your own, period. So you need to prepare for that time factor, that window, before help gets there, be it the Washington Guard, be it the Sheriff's Department, be it the first responders, the fire department, the paramedics. You're on your own. So it's up to you to survive until help arrives. Now, where was when Israel was attacked, those people were on their own. They didn't have guns. Now, people always, this community thinks that Israel, everybody has a gun in Israel. No, it's a socialist established government. The first thing they did was take the guns away from their people. So those people were on their own, unarmed, unprepared, and uninformed to protect yourself for whatever matter of time, be it 10 minutes or 10 days or 10 months. And that's what the Washington Guard is all about. And also,
no question about it.
One more thing. Before Putin went into Ukraine, there was only 3 people in the United States, the intelligence industry, that was saying In fact, I was on one of your shows. I said, the big question was, will Russia invade Ukraine? And I said, absolutely. Well, how do you know that? Absolutely. When Donald Trump lost the election, 2 weeks after Donald Trump lost the election, I told my wife, guess what? Putin's going to invade Ukraine. She goes, where did that come from? How do you know that? I go, trust me, he's going in. He has to go in. Then Colonel McGregor went public and said the same thing. And there was a journalist up in New York that said the same thing. He's going into Ukraine. Nobody believed it. Even local media didn't believe it. I'm the only person that came forward, did that. And also,
I agree. You know, it's something that I talked about too on the show. You know, I waited for the day because we knew it was going to happen.
It's because Donald Trump lost the election. This would have never have happened. This is nothing more than a NATO conspiracy in Russia, because Russia's not a team player. They're just worried about
and we see that around the world, don't we?
People understand the Russians.
Because Joe,
the war is over. Russia just keeps continuing to destroy Ukraine because they won't raise the white flag. That's all. The war is over.
Right. The war has been, and it's really been over for a long time.
And there's things that come up in conversation now that 10 years ago we didn't talk about, like thermonuclear war. Huh? What about revolution, civil wars? People ask me all the time, what is a civil war going to look like in the United States? And I explain it. And there's a difference. People need to separate the difference between revolution and civil war. Civil war is amongst states. Civil war is amongst the people. Revolution is against the government. And all the wars that I fought in, and believe me, I fought in wars that your listeners have never even heard of that were going on. I never waged war against a people. Never. I waged war against the government who got them people in that situation. I fought communism, totalitarianism, all over the planet. And never did I think I would come home and see it right here in my own country.
What do you think about the upcoming election? Joe, I keep telling people that they will never allow Trump to win. I feel like they had, plan A, they wanted to put him in jail and that failed. Plan B, bankrupt him. That has failed so far. Both have been very close. Plan C, they attempted to assassinate him, failed. Plan D, I mean, what is plan D? What is going to happen? Do you see any chance whatsoever that and it is allowed because we know that our votes don't count. Do you see any chance whatsoever that Trump may win this election?
People ask me that all the time.
I bet.
And, here's the thing. As far back as 6 months ago, I told the Guard, the militia, because I always do a speech. I hate to say speech, a speak before the training starts every month. And I said that whatever they got to do, whatever it takes, they can't allow Donald Trump to get back in the Oval Office. Now, I'm not a gambler. I don't go to Vegas to gamble. I'm anti-gambling. Okay, I don't only take calculated risks. So if I was a gambler, I would bet. I would be very surprised if Donald Trump's ever in the White House again. No matter what they've got to do, they've got to stop him. No matter what. And I said, actually, there's people in the intelligence world that know about conversations that took place before he was a candidate about, hey, we need to get rid of this guy. If we're going to kill him now. And that's the truth. That's the way the world works. Now they're sorry they didn't kill him. So, and let me address the assassination attempt. Of everyone that I've spoke to in the know what's going on, I don't know if your listeners are aware of what a green flag is. When I was in, it was called a green light. So what they did was they weakened any kind of protective service or whatever they could. They made it a visual, but he did not have the protection that he should have. Now, when I was, people know that I worked for the CIA. Okay, I'm not ashamed of that. We have children and wives too. So I do not work for the CIA anymore. But when I worked for the CIA, I was in charge of different diplomats and security. The people I protected, and I never lost a client. The people I protected, they were actively trying to kill them, not thinking about it. They were trying to kill them. So I know a lot about the protective service and what it takes. And when I was watching that event, uh, moments after he was shot, I saw what happened, and I said to my wife, "Uh-oh, he didn't have enough protection. Something's going on. Where are they?" Well, the minimal in today's world is 1,000 meters out because of the weaponry and everything. When I was shooting with the SAS back in the 80s, we were shooting from away. Our shooting was classified. This guy shot a presidential candidate from 148 yards. I could do that with a handgun. But so what happened was they weakened his security enough, wink, wink, tongue in cheek, whatever, to make it him available to be assassinated. So it's like it was ridiculous, and I've talked to the best people. So it's a green flag when you know something's brewing that favors you. Don't get in the way. And so basically, the federal government didn't get in the way. They just did a dog and pony show with his security. And when I saw those girls, and ain't no offense to girls should not be in the Secret Service. They should not be field agents. That's not necessary. They will never ever have the physical ability that a man is. I don't care about this transgender crap. So when I saw them, first of all, Donald Trump's a big man. They couldn't even screen him. He stood up and was above the Secret Service agents. Now, why were those field agents who are desk jockeys in the Secret Service? That's normal, but not a frontline detail. So he got shortchanged security. It was a green flag incident. The government let it happen and hoped it would happen. They didn't kill him. So that was a green flag.
Barely, barely, Joe. Just barely. What, quarter of an inch? It was so close. Now, I'm going out on a limb asking you this, and if you're not comfortable answering it, you certainly don't have to. Do you think Crooks was a patsy, or do you think he was the real shooter? And was there more than one shooter?
I like the word pat. Where'd you get the word patsy at? JFK?
Oh,
Yeah, Lee Oswald. That's what he said before they shot him. I was a patsy. Only the future will tell that. I know it was a green flag. Now, was there a second shooter that didn't get a round off? I don't know, but here stands the Secret Service in that kid, the loner, the bullied child from high school who joins a shooting club, who was known as his nickname in school was the school shooter, got a round off. And that was, I mean, I've seen security details that were sad, but that security detail from the Secret Service was pitiful. Now, and I've heard people chastise the Secret Service. I've worked with the Secret Service several times, and they're the best of the best of the best. They were great people, great dedicated patriots. And it's very, very sad they're being attacked, but they were only allowed to do what they could do. They were limited in resources, and that caused the problem. Now, whether there's another shooter, I don't have any information on that. Was he a patsy? Was he set up? Did he work for somebody? I have no information on that. There's nothing in the world out there in my community. Speaking of that, it's only time will tell. It looks like a green flag incident. Period.
I agree. I don't know if you've heard this name. Have you heard the name Maxwell Urich?
Yeah.
Because Maxwell Urich, he allegedly was the person who owned the white van that had the IED explosives that were there at the scene. He allegedly, was videotaped there. I have photos and videos of people who allege that it was him. We know it was his van. It was traced back to his license plate. So the question is, how involved was he? Was he a co-conspirator? Was he only in charge of the IEDs?
Yeah, the guy from Arizona. Yeah, the guy from Arizona.
Yes.
The explosives guy. Yeah, that jury's still out on that detail. I don't know. I don't know. I've heard of him before in the context of the explosive world. I think because he was in the manufacturing business, and he's probably somehow connected to the CIA. I mean, all explosives and munitions people are connected somehow to the CIA. So anyway, thank God that Donald Trump survived that. It's not over. but I would be very surprised if he ever gets back in the Oval Office, which doesn't stop me. It's because it's too bad you can't see me because I got my Donald Trump hat on.
I
And
know. I'm going to have to work.
well,
Joe,
we'll get it.
when I did my testing, everything was fine.
I'm gonna
We will figure
also,
out. We will figure it out.
I kind of apologize here. The fact that I haven't done interviews in several months now for reasons I can't go into because of my other work. But there's so much in my head rattling around. So if you say something and I segue off, it's because all this stuff's been stored up for months, and I'm about to go public with it again. So I apologize if I'm all over the charts.
Oh,
So.
don't apologize. I've explained to people already that, you are, even though you're retired, you are still active working on different things. And there are a lot of things that you probably know about that you cannot talk to us about. So sometimes if I ask you a question and you're not able to answer, and like you said, you kind of segue around it, I think I get it. And I know everyone else probably gets it as well. So certainly do not worry about that. Joe, do you have a few more minutes?
Well, I'm yours. Whatever you want.
Okay, good. I mean, while I have you, even though I hate that we can't see you, I'm so happy to hear you. I want you to explain to our listeners what is our country going to look like under a Harris Walz administration?
We have three problems in this country, major problems that's being fed by the Democrats, and that is mass immigration, which doesn't work, and they know that, the economy, and the Islamic threat within our borders. In 20 years, Islam will have enough votes in this country to elect a president in 20 years, because the average Islamic family, Muslim family, has between 6 and 8 children. Now, mass immigration, why do they do that? First of all, I think that Joe Biden was nothing more than being thrown under the bus. Shortly after, on day 2 of his administration, when he reversed all of Donald Trump's working policies, I was there. I saw it work. We took the border back from the cartel. Now they're back in charge again because of Donald Trump. We took the border back, and the economy. Now we're going to get some false flags here with the economy, because they want the economy to be strong. The economy is always supposed to be, like Ronald Reagan said, "Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?" Well, he wasn't just talking about the economy. He was talking about global respect, strategic global respect. We've lost all that. We're now on number 3. Strategic respect, tactically, is how another country does something, and before they do it, they consider what we would do if they do that. We don't have that anymore.
No,
Our global strategic respect is gone. Look at Iran. Who would threaten us with nuclear weapons? Who would do that if they respected us? They don't.
They wouldn't under Trump. But our administration is weak, right? Our administration is weak with Biden, no question about it. Now it's going to be weaker with Harris.
I told my wife shortly after he was elected, and in fact 2 days after the inauguration, I turned my flag upside down on my flagpole. My neighbors came down and said, "Hey, Colonel, no offense, but maybe you were drinking last night or something, but your flag's upside down." And I explained what that was. It's no disrespect to the flag. I was the first person in the United States to turn the flag upside down because we are under distress. We need help. And that's a military signal to say, please send help. We're in trouble, and this country's in trouble. We are treading water, no lifeboat in sight. We're in big trouble. So I think that they'll prop up the economy till after the election and probably crash and burn after that. So get your portfolios together. But Ronald Reagan was speaking about more than the economy. People think people vote for the economy. Well, the economy right now is stabilized. Really? The dollar continues to devalue. So no, it's not. Everybody's talking about gold and precious metals. Yeah. You better be ready. When it crashes, it's gonna crash big time. But these are indicators, and you can't read the indicators. How many times if something happened in your life and you said to yourself, "Oh, I should have saw that coming. I should have saw that coming." You have indicators. people don't read the indicators, and a lot of people just disregard the indicators. They think it's going to work itself out. Not this time. A lot of the Democrats are good people, and they support a Democratic regime in the White House, but they don't know what they're doing. They think it's okay. A lot of the things they're doing, they don't understand, and they just hate Donald Trump so much, which is why I don't understand that the man's. The only time I ever met there, I'm going to segue again. See, I've only met with Donald Trump one time, and he was very respectful of me and a very nice man. But he's a businessman. He's tough. I have nothing bad to say about Donald Trump. I know you can talk yourself into a corner. He does at times, but think about, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And what does that cover? It covers everything. Our economy was good. The price of gas was down. Our borders were all as secure as they ever have been. I trained with the United States Border Patrol in 1981 and learned how they operate when I was teaching dry climate survival for our desert program to go to the Mideast back in 81. And so we're not only going to be battling on two fronts, we're going to be battling on three fronts. We're going to have an economy that's going to be in trouble. Mass immigration doesn't work, and the Islamic threat in this country. The two think tanks I'm on are studying the Islamic threat, and one of the tanks I'm studying the mass immigration. Now, people say, well, mass immigration is destroying France. And by the way, that screenshot you've got on the Paris Olympics, that's not what it's all about. If you would see the military and the security around that area to keep the problems down, it was just a few months ago that France was on fire, because there's two things in France. There's France and French, and the French don't like it. So their places are being burned because the immigrants now aren't happy. So they're attacking businesses, and the people who own the businesses, all they have over there to protect themselves and their families for when they're on their own are sharpened sticks. World War II arm the French. They're not getting my guns. Our only thing between us and them are the guns. England.
You're right. And
those screenshots of England of
the UK,
Buckingham Palace and things, that's just a few blocks. That place is not safe. There's entire English communities that are 100% Muslim now. They've ran out all the British. The British right now are the closest thing to civil war since World War II. They're in deep trouble. Now, shouldn't we learn by their mistakes? We have learned by their mistakes. Our administration in power right now see that mass immigration is destroying their countries, and that's what they want. The verbiage has changed with Biden. Shortly after, when he started signing those documents about reversing Trump's decision, I told my wife, hey, guess what? They just threw Biden under the bus. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, you'll see. He's going to continue having policies to destroy this country because he's nothing but a puppet. He's just doing what he's told. He's disposable, and they've thrown him under the bus. He's the fall guy. Now, when all this stuff surfaces, then they're going to say, well, it was Biden's fault. It wasn't our fault. It's Biden's fault. They threw him under the bus a long time ago, and it's not his fault. He's just doing what they tell him to do.
Oh, so, he has no idea what's going on. But now, Joe, you spoke of Paris burning, and you're right. Right now where the Olympics are being held, I watched Islamicists burning down businesses. The Eiffel Tower was nearly on fire, just weeks ago. And now we see what's going on in the UK, and we see all of these protests. And, tomorrow, I was going to show it today, but I would rather talk to you than show videos. And, the police in the UK, they're coming to people's homes. They're arresting them for making Facebook comments. And then we have these Islamicist Muslims in the UK. One in particular, he raped a little girl, and he was given 180 hours of community service. But yet we have British citizens, who are being arrested and jailed for making Facebook comments. Do you see that happening here in our own country?
Nazi Germany all over again. It's the same script. What's the first thing he did? Take away their guns. And look what happens. They can't get the objective until they get our guns. Never give up your guns. So people ask me, what's the civil wars in the United States going to look like? The two big fronts right now are my think tanks, immigration and Islam. Those are your civil wars. American citizens and the public will eventually go up against Islam for whatever the tipping stone is going to be. There's going to be a civil war here in this country instituted by Islam. The second are the immigrants, the massive immigration, just like they're doing in England and France right now. They're after the government. They want to kill innocent people, and then the British turn around and say, well, on that incident where 2 weeks ago,
Where the tiger killed the 3 little girls.
Yeah, what came in and stabbed 3 little girls and injured a bunch of people. What's the first thing the government does? Well, that's not a terrorist attack. He was born here. Really? Where did his parents come from? Look, it's like Colonel McGregor said, there is no radical Islam. There is no moderate Islam. It's just Islam. Read the Quran. It's in there. You either be enslaved by them, you will convert, or you'll die. Get it straight. But yet we let them build their embassies here. When I say embassies, I'm talking about mosques.
The mosque. Yeah. And we talked about that a little bit yesterday on the show. I was trying to explain to people. That's where it starts, at the mosque.
Let me just set the pace on this thing. Future generations after I'm gone will look back at history and say, why in the hell did we even let them people in this country? Future generations. But in the meantime, we're going to suffer for it. You will see it right here in this country. You want to see what a civil war looks like? Look no further than the Muslims and the mass immigration. There's your civil wars.
You know, Joe, where it's not happening in Russia. You know why? Because Putin will not allow it. He will not allow these people to move in, to build a mosque, take over the territory around the mosque. Yesterday, we were talking about no-go zones and how we have no-go zones right here and are in the United States, where in these areas, they live by Sharia law, not U.S. law, not by state law, not by city law. They live by Sharia law. How do we allow that? Isn't that how it all starts?
They use our Constitution against us. And plus, Congress is the most corrupt organization within the federal government. It's all corrupt. When people, and I explain something to people, that when people start making reference, and the media makes reference, we're turning into a third world country, people think about that as like bread lines and the economy. No, that's not what a third world country is about. It's about corruption. When corruption becomes an everyday, and violence becomes an everyday thing, it's acceptable. That's third world. Look at the violence in our country. Look at the people burning up in Portland and Washington, all over the place, burning places down. Nobody's been charged. They set fire to St. Louis. Nobody gets charged. So it's an accepted behavior. In Russia, it is not accepted behavior.
That's right.
Putin promotes this anti-Islamic thing, and the people are for it. The people here in the United States look the other way. The Democrats, the Republicans, for the most part, not the rhinos, for the most part, understand what we are committing: social suicide. This country will, in 10 years, you will not recognize it. Now, it's got to come.
It's happening fast.
Oh no, it's going to be terrible. People, if you're listening out there, I'm telling you, do something about your family. We were in a parade the other day in Washington, Missouri, the Washington County Fair Parade, and a Town and Country Parade, and there's a Washington Guard on my big emblem on one of my vehicles, and I would call men out of the streets and say, "Hey, come here. You see this sign right here? You need to join the Guard. You know why? Is that your wife and kids standing over there?" "Yes, sir." I said, "You need to join the Guard for no other reasons to help protect them for what's coming. Be a man, stand up, join the Guard."
That's right. That's right. And Joe, we're all looking for answers. I don't like to tell people that Trump's going to lose, that Harris is going to win, and that we're going to have a civil war here in our own country. I know what I believe. I don't like to come on here and tell people that. And I try to tell people, because I don't want to promote violence, I tell people you either have to fight or adapt. And of course, again, I don't want to promote violence, but we're getting to a point where people have to start making decisions, and people have to start safeguarding themselves, their homes, their families. And that's why I love the Washington Guard so much, because you're teaching people skills, invaluable skills to save their lives, to save their families, and more than anything to prepare. Because let's just say nothing happens. Let's hope nothing does happen. But if it does happen, at least you'll be prepared. And I know we're about out of time. I only got about 2 minutes left before Facebook probably cuts us off. I usually do that in the 8 o'clock hour. But can you tell us once again how to find you at the Washington Guard?
Just go to thewashingtonguard.com, and all the information's right there. And also see me, talk to me, and understand what the Washington Guard's all about. It's going to be a great event. Just go to events on the website, get a ticket, come see me. We'll talk. We'll have a good time. And this is the price of freedom. This is what it's all about. And it's really sad is I didn't ask for this job. I didn't want this job. This job is necessary. That's why I'm here. God bless America. God bless Donald Trump, and God bless our first responders.
Thank you so much, Joe. Thank you so much for being here and for dealing with my adversity with my technical issues. I will get it worked out for next Wednesday. I hope you continue to join us. I will certainly look forward, and I know everyone else will, talking to you Wednesday. I hope you have a really good week, Joe. And again, we'll work out some video. We'll get you on, because I want to see that pretty face. And we will all come out on September 7th.
All right. I'll see you next
Joe.
Wednesday.
Have a good day.
See you next Wednesday.
Thank you, everyone, for hanging in there while I'm dealing with my technical issues. I don't know what's going on. I wish I did, but I'm not even sure myself. I will figure it out, though. We will get it worked out. But I am so appreciative for everybody and all of your support. I love Colonel Joe Adams. I am so happy he was here, even if it's just by sound. I think his information is invaluable. Check out WashingtonGuard.com. I'm very familiar with the Washington Guard. I know several members of the Washington Guard. And, there was a lot of other things I want to talk about today, but, nothing is more important than talking about our freedom and saving our country and protecting ourselves and our families. I don't like to come on here, and talk about civil war and violence. I don't want to talk about any of those things. I don't. But we have to start preparing. We have to start preparing for what's going to happen under a Harris Walz administration, because I'm telling you, it's coming. It is coming. And with it, what comes with it? Here we're worried about Iran and all of these different things going on. And we have to worry about what's going on right here in our own country. We're so concerned about, and of course, what happens in other countries certainly does affect us directly, but we have to worry about what we're going to be facing here. And unfortunately, under a Harris Walz environment, they're not going to be concentrating, on shoring up our borders or worrying about our national security. That's not going to happen. And, they're going to defund police. We're going to have less protection than we've ever had. We're going to be weaker than we've ever been. So we have a lot to talk about in the coming days, the coming weeks, the coming months. And I'm really going to do my best to bring some really good guests and things that people that can come in and talk to us and help us be better people, be better Americans, give us some ideas and some resources. And again, thank you to Colonel Joe Adams for joining us. Thank you all for joining me and for being so entirely gracious while I work through all of my technical issues. But it's a learning process. This is episode 14. We will have episode 15 tomorrow. We got a lot of things going on. Don't forget, if you have any show ideas, several people have sent me text messages. Text me, the show line. It's 314-546-2677. And I am still working to get this set up so that you can call in. Any of you can join me by video. If you want to send me a message on this text line, I would be more than happy to send you a link. You can come in. We'll all talk. It'll be a great conversation to hear what everybody has to say. So thank you again. Hope you guys all have a great day. If you like the show, share the show. And again, I am Tabitha Hassell with Tabs on Tap. Hope you have a great day. We'll see you all tomorrow.